Hi, this is Dr. Kimberley Linert, and you're listening to Incredible Life Creator Podcast. My guest today is Glenn Edwards. Glenn Edwards is a business owner in the construction field. He has 42 years of experience in the infectious control area. He is inspiring people to take back their power. Welcome to the podcast, Glenn.
Thank you very much, Kimberly. It's a pleasure to be on.
Yes. Now, I know you have had a long journey and so many things happening throughout your life, and yet you're still here, still coming forward, still taking back your power and showing other people how to take back their power.
Absolutely. Every day.
Yeah, just so people can get to know you. Why don't you tell us, where you started out, where you grew up, how you got to be where you are today?
Okay, I'll tell you a little bit about myself so far. I'm 60 years old. I am an award-winning author, motivational speaker, and coach. I do have 2 construction companies, which I've been in that industry for 42 years. I'm a grandfather of 5 children, and I have 2 beautiful daughters. Going back to my life so far, I had an amazing childhood, just an incredible childhood. It should be almost charged to have a childhood like that and have that much fun. Incredible teenage years. I was drafted in junior hockey, which is the Ontario Hockey League. A lot of Americans have come up and played in that league and been drafted to that league. It's kind of like our junior system to the NHL, if you will. I was drafted to the Windsor Spitfires, and I had the thrill of having a tryout with the Toronto Maple Leafs back in 1980, which was a huge thrill for me. I had a meeting as a young man with Johnny Bauer, Jerry McNamara, Floyd Smith, all the upper management of the Toronto Maple Leafs way back then at Maple Leaf Gardens. So definitely a thrill in my life for that. Just an incredible childhood and incredible teenage years. I got married very young. I had 2 relatives played in the NHL. One played in the original 6 with Gordie Howe and all those kind of fellows, and Bobby Orr and Bobby Hall. And the other one played with Buffalo, Toronto, and Calgary. So hockey ran in the family. It was a big part of my life. Probably the biggest passion I ever had was to play in the NHL. I had all the talent in the world. I just didn't have the common sense. And when I was a young boy at 15, when I got drafted, I had this young woman I'd grown up with, and we had the puppy love through grade school and high school. Got married at 18 and 19 or 20, I think it was. And we got married very young, which is all great. But that's where I made some bad decisions as a young man, walking away from hockey at 16, walking away from hockey at 19 when I had the pro tryout. And that's where you start to understand some of the things you go through in life and the mistakes you make, like things along those lines. But you grow from them. You learn from them. You can't sit in that area of pain or sit in that area of, giving away that part of your life. There's always positives in everything that happens in our life. Like when we have something negative happen, there's always a positive. One of the biggest things for me, my uncle had told me, being in the NHL and flying all over North America, you didn't get a lot to see your kids. Whereas I got to see everything with my kids. I grew up with them. They became my best friends, and I got to watch the ballet, and I got to watch them play soccer and basketball. You can't put a price tag on that. So there's a huge positive out of that. So you always try to focus on the positive and learn something from it. So amazing childhood, amazing young adult life. And I've had a great success in construction for 42 years and learned a lot. There's been a lot of highs and lows. I just wrote a book myself, The Authorities, Pain to Powerful. And it talks about some segments in my life where you're at such an extreme high and so many great things, but some things take a toll and some things start to add up. And if you don't heal from your losses, your traumas, whatever they are, you can drag that along with you. So there's a lot of things that come to a culmination and take a toll on you. And myself, I reached a point where I actually planned out ending my life. So when you take a guy or anybody that has an amazing life, it just makes you wonder how you can go from such a high to such a low. And if we look at the famous people in the world, like the Robin Williams and all these kind of people that do these kind of things, there's a reason. And that's where you learn you got to advocate for yourself and just be persistent in finding your calm in life. So one of the things I talked to you earlier about was values. So I'll tell you a quick story about a thing I learned about values. So I was at a course one time, and a gentleman said, there's probably 100 values written on a wall, like with a projector screen. And he said, find 10 core values that make you tick as a person. So you and me, Kimberly, would be sitting there and we'd be taking all these different values and you'd write them down on a little piece of paper. And when you had them all done, you'd let them know. And he said, now find a story that upsets you or puts you in a bad place or makes you feel not so good. So like right now we could say COVID, you know, what's going on with COVID? It could be a divorce. It could be marriage troubles, friendship troubles. So as we're sitting there, we had all our items. He goes, now that you have this situation in your head, throw on the floor the values that you gave up in that situation. And when you threw them on the floor, we ended up with either none in front of us or maybe one. And the point of it is, nobody's entitled to your values. I'm not entitled to yours. You're not entitled to mine. I'm not entitled to my partners. You're not entitled to your partners. Those are what make us tick as a person. And if you actually take those, let's say you took 10, take 5 core values and live by them every day and use them in everything you go through, it'll keep you on an affirmation of the direction you're going, who you are, and staying true to yourself. But I've asked people what their values are, and they'll look at me and say, I don't know what you mean. I don't understand. They can't even name 1 or 2 or 3 or 4. So you become just like sheeple. You start following whatever other people do. So if you look at this COVID, I'm a COVID contractor. I do infectious control in hospitals. I do it in buildings. I've done asbestos and mercury for years as well. The government, your side of the border, my side of the border, came out and said, everybody social distance. And we all did. It's a simple thing to do. But when you get into the hygiene part of it, now that they're opening the world back up, people don't know what they're doing. So they've gone out and got masks and they've got gloves, but they don't know how to wear the mask. They don't know how to wear the gloves, when to put them on, when to take them off, how to take them off, how to decontaminate, how not to cross-contaminate. The people with masks and gloves are actually some of the worst people out there. They're more of the cause than they are the solution. So I've reached out quite a bit lately to our government, to our political parties, to businesses, to offer assistance in reopening your business, educating your staff on hygiene. Just a lack of education, a lack of interest from people to want to learn that. But that's what's going to make this go forward. This will be the new future. So I'll tell you another little story. Buffets. You've been to a buffet. I've been to a buffet. This is kind of the foundation of infectious control to kind of get your mind around it. So you go to a buffet and we all go up and we get our food. It could be at a wedding, a banquet, vacation, holiday. We all go up and get our food and we all use the same forks, same spatulas, same spoons, same utensils to get our food. We go back and sit down, we look at our food and we dive in. But everybody in that restaurant or building or whatever who was at the buffet has touched the same fork, same spatula, same spoon, and we haven't washed our hands. Now, if you think about that, it's disgusting.
Yes.
I know, but we all have done it, myself included. But with my partner I have, like, we've asserted this a while back where it's like, okay, this is disgusting. So we started cleaning our hands. We had little Pierre like over a year or 2 ago, and we clean our hands. And you realize now how disgusting that is. So if I went and got a fork and knife and I brought it to you and your partner, and I said, listen, there's like 70 people have touched these, but go ahead and have dinner. You wouldn't let me. Like you'd say, Glenn, that's disgusting, right? Yes. So if people just sit back and think about that for a second and kind of look at the broad spectrum of where we're at with this, that's what we're talking about here. This is hygiene. This is 50% respiratory, 50% tactile, like touch. The social distancing does the respiratory. The other part is our hygiene. It's that simple. So if we all get better hygiene, we're all guilty of it. I'm saying the same thing. But if we all get better at our hygiene, this would go away. But it seems like everybody just wants to get back to work and open their businesses and not understand that this could go sideways in a heartbeat. So that's what I'm trying to get across to people. Like I say, I've reached out to our government, our municipalities. So if you look at what's going on in Canada per se, we had a list of essential services came out. I'm sure you might have too.
Yes.
Right. So they came out with essential services and they named all these divisions that could stay open. But they didn't put anything in place to prove that you put a code of conduct in place for your staff, that you train your staff on hygiene, you train your staff on how COVID transfers, you train them on what to do, how to handle themselves, and how to conduct themselves. They just said, go ahead and stay open. So what I saw was companies driving around with 2, 3, 4 guys in their trucks. I saw restaurants that are still doing takeout, but there's 4 or 5 people in a very confined area. Nobody had implemented anything, but they were allowed to stay open. Now we're opening up more here in Ontario, in Canada, with still no training. It should have been, what they should have done when they opened up essential services, is that here's the list. They should have said, you all have to stay closed until you prove to us you've implemented protocol. Then you can open up. So if you were the governing body, Kimberly, and I had to come back to you, I'd submit my proposal of what I've done for my company and my staff. And you would say, Glenn, you're good to go, open your business. But they made a mistake, and two wrongs don't make a right. And they should have sat back and went, wait, we messed up here, and let's correct it. Like, I missed out on a birthday. My partner and I, we both had a birthday one day apart in March, and we were supposed to go to Vegas. I missed out on my trip. I had shows booked. I lost that. Lots of other people lost their trips. I wanted that freedom back. Yeah. But everybody has to get on board here in the same direction. I'm not pointing fingers at anybody. It's just, we're all in this together. Let's make it better. But you can't be ignorant to what's happened and not be productive and want to make this a better thing. So if you use your values, like calm, clarity, understanding, communication, validation, like those are some of mine. Like fun, like we've given them away. Nobody's entitled to them. We need to backtrack, slow down, and look at those values. If you and I have a disagreement, we can still agree to disagree, but I have to respect your values. I have to respect you as a person. And I find if you do that, you stay on a better path of, like I say, an affirmation of where you want to go in life and how you want to live your life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and as you were saying that, fun is definitely one of mine. And, everybody's having to be really creative right now about having fun. And, there's been some different ideas. I know for Mother's Day, and I know other people have done this. Our whole family collective, we're on a Zoom, and, we did a quiz show, a trivia quiz show about my mom, who's the oldest mom in the family. We all had to answer, and, it was a competition. We never would have done that, even though we're in different states. We never would have done that another year, another time.
Yeah. I'll give you a little bit of insight into the, since we're kind of touching base on the COVID, I'll give a little insight on our side of the border. I won't speak on your half just because I haven't seen enough of it and understand what your protocol is. But I know for being in asbestos gives you mesothelioma and you die from it. There is no cure. So I've been in this for 42 years. I have a relative right now who's actually dying from it, who's a carpenter. So I understand the severity of it. I've been around it my whole life, and I've done it my whole career. I also do mercury, which gives you mad hatters, makes you loopy, kind of crazy. Those are serious things. Those are things that affect the rest of your life. This does too, but it also falls into the hygiene of, it boils down to hygiene. What I do in those other two trades boils down to protection. There's a different kind of verbiage to it on how you take care of yourself and how your safety protocol and your protection. This here, with it being hygiene, I can bring my education from the past. So let's say someone's going to wear these gloves or these respirators. They got the N95s and they got the half-face surgicals, which I'm sure you've been around. Mm-hmm. And those are disposable. Those are a one-time wear and you throw them away. I've had people telling me they're vacuuming them. They're spraying them with a product. It's a fabric. You have no guarantee. You're not a professional to say you've cleaned them. Like there's some experiments going on in hospitals right now trying to see if they can be reused, but it hasn't been certified. So if you take those as a one-time wear, people are wearing them 10 times, 20 times. They're hanging them in their rearview mirror. They're throwing them on their dash. They're putting them in their purse. Exactly. So if you understand now infectious control, what I'm going to explain to you, when you roll that respirator up and you put it in your pocket, there's no clean side, dirty side now. You've cross-contaminated the inside of that mask because you've rolled it into itself. So whatever's on the outside now is on the inside. If you get to a point you think you have to wear one twice, I've suggested to people to get like an adhesive tape, or there's a saran you can get. They put it on carpet areas when you go in a brand new building sometimes and you walk on that saran, like that plastic. Get something like that you can put on the front of the mask. So when you have it on, you put that plastic across the front that seals it. Now everything's sealed to the front of the mask and you can take it off. So then you can put it in a Glad bag, zip it up, and reuse it. You've sealed the dirty side from the clean side. So when you want to put it back on, you put it back on your face and pull the adhesive off. So whether you use 3M tape or duct tape or whatever it is to seal it, that holds it on. Otherwise, who's deciding what's the clean and dirty side? Yeah, you know what I mean? And that's the goofy part. Like, I watched a guy the other day, it's 75 degrees here in Ontario the one day, about a week ago, and he's standing in line for a gelato, and he's got his mask on, and his partner had her mask on to under the nose. So under the nose is you're breathing through your nose too, right? So it's useless. They get to the line of the gelato. He takes his mask off, rolls it up, puts it in his pocket. She takes hers off, folds it up, puts it in her purse. You just contaminated your purse. You just contaminated your pocket. They ate your gelato, finished it, and then they put their mask back on.
Yeah, we don't think about these things, do we?
Exactly.
We don't think about it.
But that's common sense and nonsense. Like it is. So those kind of things you're seeing. Like I'll give you an example too. You see a grocery store. You watch people. Like say you and your partner walk in a grocery store, and Kimberly walks in, and she's got her gloves on and her mask on, and good for you. But you do your shopping. You walk up to pay your bill, and you reach in your purse, or your partner reaches in his wallet with the gloves on. So everything you just touched in the store just went in your purse, in your wallet. You just contaminated everything in it. And even if there wasn't COVID, it's kind of gross anyway. If you think of everything you've touched in the store plus the cart, that's a time there where you can use your Purell, give your hand a little shot, clean it, you can go in your purse. So that's called cross-contamination. Mm-hmm. And that's the part that people aren't getting with this. And that's, if you educate yourself and just do some due diligence to learn about it, just think how easy it would be. Mm-hmm. I see people walking down the street, like wide open air, and they got a mask on. If you're sick, that's when you should have your mask on. But if you're not sick, that's fresh air. Enjoy the fresh air. Enjoy it. It's nice, right?
Yeah.
Other than that, I'm assuming you're sick and you're trying to keep your germs from me. But if you're wearing a mask outside in fresh air, you better wear it 24 hours a day in your home, because your home's a lot more disgusting than what's out there. And I'm pretty hygienic, and I'm pretty much a germaphobe how I clean my home, but I'll guarantee you I can find things wrong. But that just seems to be where people are losing their common sense, their values, and their direction of who they are. They're watching the media too much. Mm-hmm.
Wow, you've made up some great points that, I hadn't even thought about those things, about rolling up a mask and putting it in your pocket and it being contaminated, or, same thing, using the store and then putting your hand in your purse, and then of course going and driving your car and touching your steering wheel.
There you go.
Touching your doorknob at home.
Exactly. Like I, at my office, being in this industry, we've always been pretty hygienic. And I have one guy that works for me. He's a bit of a germaphobe, but it's all good. And we'll get the Purell or whatever, and we'll alcohol wipes, and we'll go around. One day I'll go in and I'll do the doorknobs, and they'll be looking at me going, like Kimberly be there going, I just did them yesterday, and be like, oh well, like we just did them again. And some of you might do them one day, and I said I just did them 2 days ago. Like, it's just been how we are. But there's nothing wrong with that. And what you just said about the steering wheel, think how gross that is. Your hands touch that thing every day.
Yes.
So, like, once again, people wear their gloves, but they're getting in their car, they put the groceries in the back, whatever it is they bought, they open their door, so they touch the door handle, they get in the car, they touch their steering wheel, and they take their mask and they hang it on the rear view mirror. It's not a rosary. Yeah. Well,
that's what it looks like, doesn't it?
It's not a crucifix. It's not a rosary. It's a contaminated mask. There's protocol, right? So I just think everybody did really well with the social distancing, but man, have they lost the farm on this one with the rest of it. When you understand that, they closed the world for this, right or wrong, they closed the world. I don't want them to close it again. I'm dying to go to a beach. I'm dying to go on a holiday.
Yes.
Imagine if we went under martial law and they all kept us all in our homes. You'd see people start to realize now we've lost our freedom. So let's be part of the solution and not the problem. Mm-hmm. I'm not an expert in COVID. I'm an expert in infectious control. If my guys make a mistake,
right? You said 42 years.
42 years. I've been involved with school boards, government buildings, where unions and school boards, teachers, caretakers, they just don't get along. And they'll use any reason they can to close buildings. And sometimes they are unhealthy, or there is asbestos, or there is certain things. I'm called in those situations to help make the decision if they are, if they're not, and how we're going to open them up, and why we're going to open them up, and why they're safe to everybody. I've had pregnant women stand there yelling at me I've contaminated them. And I've had to explain to them why I didn't, and explain to them what happened and what we actually did, so they understand. It doesn't upset me that they're yelling or upset, but ask first. Mm-hmm. That's where you gather your knowledge, take back your power. This is the whole thing about taking back your power. Like, identify with who you are. Like, the one thing I'll say quickly is, yourself, there's women that use washrooms and men that use washrooms don't wash their hands.
Mm-hmm.
You've seen it. I've seen it. Those people have to own that now. Like, come on. Like, that's hygiene right there. Like, I start telling men in washrooms, wash your hands. But this is all part of it, right? This is how bacteria spreads. These are how things spread. So go back to the basics of when we were younger. I'm a lot older than you, but you go back to the basics of when we were kids. Wash your hands before dinner.
Yeah.
This is a hygiene thing right here. So, but anyway, yeah.
It
So
really is. And I was going to say most of us were taught that from, I have a 18-month-old granddaughter, we taught her from little, even right
yeah,
now, just
yeah,
wash your hands,
yeah.
with the soap,
But so many basic fundamentals of even like how you clean your house. Like we all know there's good cleaners and bad cleaners. We all have different hygiene. We all have different ethics on how we clean.
Mm-hmm.
But when you get into the commercial industry and shopping malls, plazas, it's more now time to pay attention to who's cleaning, how are you cleaning, what products are you using, what rags are you using. I've been to a gym where they use the same rag on the seat as they do the handlebars when they clean them. That's gross. Mm-hmm. That's gross. Like, come on, like this is hygiene now. This is what you got to think, right? So it just, like I say, you're not pointing the finger at anybody. It's just everybody getting good practice, better practice, and then it becomes a habit. And then I start to watch what you do. If I saw you and your partner at a dinner one time, you wash your hands before you eat, like a little Pharrell, I'd look at them and go, wow, it's kind of a good idea. The next thing someone else might do it. It's no different than me smiling at you and you smile back. Like, same thing. Learn a little something off somebody, and or reach out to someone like me. Like I speak to people about reopening their businesses and what to do, how to make it safe, how to make sure you've implemented certain things. Communication is huge. Communicate, make sure people understand, and ask questions. Don't point the finger back.
Exactly. So when you mentioned about, cleaning our houses, I was wondering if you have some recommendations for people when they're cleaning their house, like what is a good cleaner? Because maybe, maybe not everyone knows what's a good cleaner and something that's actually killing the germs.
Yeah, there's good cleaners. There really is. The biggest thing I stay away from is naming brands. It's better to try, like you and your partner might be in, you live together, whatever. So I could suggest something. You go, oh my God, Glenn, this is fantastic. And your partner might go, I broke out in a rash. So there's different ratings and different things on products. Just like you read your ingredients on a grocery, like whether you're buying pasta, what's in the pasta, is it gluten-free, is it this, is it that? Cleaning products are the same. There's ratings for them for sensitivity to the skin, to the eyes, to the breath, respiratory. So some of the ones I use, you need respirators to use them. But like, once again, my guys knew what they're doing with the respirators. We have a COVID cleanup we just did, ended up being a negative. The positive didn't come out for the test. But my guys went in with their PPE and proper protocol. That product there had a little bit of an odor, a citrusy kind of smell, but environmentally friendly. And but you check what it is. You don't just walk into a building and use it. So for people in their residences, I'd recommend reading the label and see what you're getting. Because we all have, someone could be asthmatic. You might be ultra sensitive to your skin, your hands, whatever. So you find out little things and ask and inquire, then sample what you might want. I can't just say a generic swath, use this. Like I use a lot of bleach. I love bleach. Like I do. Like I use it on cuts, wounds, scars. Like it cleans them up. Like poison ivy. Like I love it. I'll break it down to 1 part bleach, 1 part bleach, 20 parts water, and even go down to 1 to 10, 1 to 15, depending on what I like. But yeah, it's all preference after that point. So I wouldn't recommend too much right now without the advice to go check it yourself and see what you like. Right. Okay. But how you clean. I always look at it like when we do asbestos and mercury, and especially asbestos, you kind of look at it as if there was no roof on a building, and clean down. So when you look at the top of your fridge, your cupboards, your cabinets, your mirrors, like, if I walked in and started doing this, you'd be like, oh my God, like, he's got dust all over his hand. So just get into good cleaning, good protocol, good codes of conduct kind of thing. Yeah.
Great. So keep your mask sanitary.
Yeah.
Keep your gloves sanitary. Keep your hands sanitary. Wash your hands.
Yeah. But even the reusable masks, the ones people are making, that's great. Like they're not certified, number one. So people that are wearing them, they also almost wear them like a fad. Excuse me. But if you're going out for the day, take 3 or 4 with you. Because once again, they're not reusable, right? So what I would suggest with those is go to a sink or wet your face with it on, like wet it down. Fold it up, because now it's sealed, right? Like everything's wet, it's adhered to the fabric. Fold it up, put it in a Ziploc bag, and go home and use it for your laundry. Grab another one and put that on. Let's say you're gonna have lunch. Have your lunch, clean your hands, put the second mask on now, and wear that fresh. You know, because we all can't just go get half-face N95s and surgical masks, right? So,
Right.
but that's good practice. But I don't know, like, I've been in this 42 years. I don't know anybody that says, here's the line, I'm going to draw this line here, and that side of my mask now is clean, so I'm going to put it over here. Like, you haven't disinfected it. You have no idea how to decontaminate it, right? So, and the other thing with gloves, like, gloves are the hardest thing, because gloves, you lose track of how often you wash your hands. Like, I'd shake your hand right now, but I'd use Perel on my hand. I clean my hands. I'm good. With gloves, you touch, and you lose track. When was the last time I washed my hands? How many things have I touched? What have I touched? You know, same as a grocery store. Like, you're walking around for an hour, 45 minutes. You walk up and pay your bill. You forgot you touched all this stuff, and you reached in your purse and your wallet. Like, okay, wait a minute. I shouldn't have done that. I should have. Actually, if you're going to wear gloves like that, and you get to the till to pay, take them off. Turn them inside out. Tie a little knot in the end. They're sealed. You can dispose of them when you leave. Now you can reach in your purse with clean hands. You know, so.
All really helpful. So thank you. I'm going to change gears a little bit here.
Okay.
Because I know you had quite a few traumatic experiences in your life. How do people bounce back and take their control back when there's trauma?
I look at it sometimes with an hourglass, only a daily glass, like an hourglass that takes up to 24 hours. How much time are you putting into the negative thought? How much time are you putting into the positive thought? I got stuck myself with some situations I'd been through, focusing too much on the negative. And there's nothing wrong with a little pity party that, you know, we have a good cry. I've never cried this much in my life, and I know I'm getting older now, but there's nothing wrong with it. So I'm alienated from my grandchildren. I've been alienated now for 6 years. The positive of that is some of us never get to have kids because we physically can't. I was allowed to have 2 beautiful girls. And some of our kids aren't allowed to have kids because either they don't want to or they're physically not able to. My daughters were able to have kids. I was allowed to be a grandfather. That's not a right. That's a gift. That's an amazing gift when you're a grandparent. You're saying it's incredible, isn't it? You can't explain it to people. If someone's not a grandparent, they look at you like, But when you are, it's like, I can look at it's incredidible, right?
Yeah.
I've had I've had that privilege, and you can't take it away from me. So I look at it and I go, I had a gift, and I still am a grandfather. Like, when I'm around, like, I'm divorced now. So when my new partner, when she has grandchildren, I'm still going to be a granddad. When I see little kids, I'm still a granddad. If you're a parent, you're always a parent. You see kids, you're like, oh, they're so cute. And the parent in you comes out. Well, the grandparent in me comes out, and I'm proud of it, and I wear it as a badge. I don't see my own grandchildren. I will one day. But when I see other kids, I'm a grandparent. And I thrive on that, and I hang on it. And I used to put my head down and cry. And it's still, I still have my moments. That's okay. But I look at the honor and the privilege that I had to be a grandparent, to be a parent. And I focus on that. I've been through a divorce. I was married 33 years. I had an amazing marriage. I have no ill will towards my partner. It devastated me. It devastated me. I saw it out of nowhere coming. I missed work. I didn't care about anything. I couldn't get myself out of that. And then you start to realize, like, you start focusing on why you got married. Like, you fell in love. There was amazing things. You had an amazing life. I kind of look at it like a good book, like a Moby Dick. Put it up on the wall and cherish it. Don't focus on the divorce and yelling at each other and whatever people do. I don't have the time for that. Life's too short. I look at it, I go, it's an amazing 33 years. We had a puppy love as kids. We had a great childhood. We went through grades 7 and 8 as boyfriend and girlfriend. I used to drive to her high school and drop her off. Like, there's a great history. So focus on the history.
Yeah.
And I find just too many people, like, they'll tell you stories about their negative. I have a lot of negative. Some of the negative I can tell you kind of shock you and sit you back and go, like I told you earlier, I have 2 therapists I've been to over the years with another person I was with. And the therapist took me aside and said, how do you survive? Like, this one therapist that was a woman, she'd probably in her 60s. And when she found out all my traumas I'd been through in life, she said, you talk about them like they're the weather. She goes, I can't get my head around it. My whole career, I've never seen anybody been through all these traumas and tragedies. And you have this attitude. And I said, my tools, my mental tools, the mental tools I've got, the mental toolbox that I use. And I go to that toolbox. the values. Like when you throw your values away, you're going in the wrong direction real fast. You'll go to that negative side. You'll start to focus on the negative things. Like I say, that marriage was a great marriage. I hope she finds whoever it is she's looking for and what she wanted out of life. Wish her the best, and then go find your own. But in the same situation, like since we're on that topic of divorce, so many people shut down after. They lose their vulnerability. Like I'm a romantic. I've always been a romantic. I bring the candles on holidays and I do the whole thing, and I bring the speaker box, you know, and even at my age, I still do that. And, you know, but to be vulnerable after you've been hurt, you kind of leave that little foundation. You know what I mean? When you build a house, you put the footings and you put the foundation. You kind of leave the footings there. You got to get rid of them. It's like unconditional love is the best thing you'll ever have. But if you don't fall unconditionally in love, there's always that something in between you. You got that reserve. It's like, I'm not going to get hurt by Kimberly again. I'm not going to let her do that to me because the last one did that to me. But if you can get rid of all that and be transparent and be 100% vulnerable, there's nothing better in the world. If you get hurt, it's also the worst thing in the world, you know, to a point. But man, if you're going to do it, go all the way and do it. And that's the one thing I find. There's so many people that have never been unconditionally in love, especially guys.
Yeah.
They don't give it up. When you're a woman, like, you know, like when you like to have a guy that communicates and talks and listens and validates what you say and understands what you say. Like there was a situation I went through years ago with my one daughter. She's an addict, alcohol and drugs. And I went to this rehab place. We've actually been there twice. And one of the exercises they gave was a listening exercise. So my ex and my one daughter and the one daughter that was an addict, we sat in this room together, and you'd say, it makes me happy, mad, sad, glad, angry, whatever the topic is. When you do this, would you try not to do that anymore so I don't feel this way? So my daughter was the first one to do it, and she did it to me. So she said, when I come home from high school and I tell you my problems of the day, I'm not looking for you to tell me what to do or how to fix it. I'm just telling you about my day. Could you just listen to me in the future so it doesn't frustrate me? And I went, wow. Yeah. As a dad, I'm going to protect my daughter, Kimberly. I'm going to protect you.
Right.
You're not asking me to protect you. You're just talking to me. You're just telling me about your day. But a lot of men, I'll tell you what to do. You do this. The next time that happens, you do this. You didn't ask me. And that's where you become a better listener. You start to understand what people are saying and validate what they say. So those are all acquired skills that we all need to try and get them back. Like try and hold them close to yourself, right? So those little skills like that become huge, right?
Yeah.
So.
And I had another question that came up just as you were talking. You know, you talked a couple of times about how, you know, you cried more than you had ever cried. And for a lot of men, especially some women too, it's like they don't want anyone to see them crying. They, you know, are embarrassed to cry, or they're just going to hold back from crying. How has the crying helped as far as the healing process for you? Huge. Crying, communicating.
It's huge. Like I've been like, I was a macho, you know, the macho guy, the tough guy or whatever. When I went through these things that brought me to such a lower level, I'm not Superman. I can't handle everything. And when you get to that point, you do cry. Like, but when you hide it, I can't understand how you feel. Like, if I hide it from you, you don't. If you and I are partners, Kimberly, just go easy. We're not, but you know, if you and I are partners, and I don't show my feelings to you, you can't. Am I to assume you know? I haven't told you I'm sad. I haven't told you I'm hurt. I haven't told you I'm crying because I lost my dad. You have to communicate to the other person. You can't assume. Like if I come home from work and I'm in a bad mood, if I don't tell you I'm in a bad mood from the trip, you'll think I'm in a bad mood for something else, and it starts to take on a personality of its own. Communication's huge. Like if you're with your partner, you should be able to tell them anything, and they should listen to you and validate you and understand and try to understand. And if you can't, just support the person. The things I've been through, we've had a double murder in the family. We've had addictions and rape and divorce, alienation. Like when you pile all that together within a 6-7 year period, I'll find me somebody that can sit there and go, I'm good. I'm not good, but I got the tools. I got the knowledge. I got the expertise. I got the coaching. I got the training. I learned lessons off people my whole life. And now that I'm reaching out and I've turned myself inside out in a book, people are going, I've been there too. I've been there too. I've had people thanking me for being transparent and being vulnerable. It's huge. It's funny, Kimberly, I've been an athlete my whole life. I got paid to play hockey. And when I was going to turn 60, I wanted to be in the best shape of my life, even when I was an athlete and played hockey. And last year I went on 3 bike races across. I went to one in North Carolina, one in Montreal, and one here in Ontario. I was going to be in the best shape ever. And the day before I turned 60, it dawned on me it had nothing to do with physical. It had a part to do with it. It was physical, emotional, and spiritual. It was all 3. And that whole year of being 59 was all about the physical. But after I'd done so many things and so many courses over the last 10 years, it all hit me when I turned 60. It bothered me so much to turn 60. And now I'm probably the best person I've ever been. I'm the most rounded person I've ever been. Educated, spiritual, emotional. There's like I said to you earlier, we talked before the podcast, this is the first time at being 60 my whole life I'm proud of myself. I have people that work for me I've had one guy work for me for 25 years now. I've had people make livings off me. They make a lot of money off me. They've worked hard for me too, but I've never been really proud of myself. I've never been comfortable to say it. I'm a good father. I'm a fantastic grandfather. I'm a great husband. I'm a great boyfriend. I'm a great friend, but I've never been proud of myself. And now I am, because now I'm doing something where I'm helping people. I'm turning myself inside out. I'm exposing myself. I'm being vulnerable. If people want to laugh, they can laugh, but I know where I'm going, and I know the people reaching back, they need this. And that's what I'm trying to do.
That is awesome. And I'm excited for you.
Thank you.
Very excited for you.
Thank you. Well, one of the sorry, go ahead, Kim.
Go ahead.
No, one of the things I found a lot of times through therapy, when I went through my stuff, everybody has anger. Everybody does. But when you have certain things happen, I picked up a rage. Rage is very unhealthy. And I remember I went to my doctor and he sent me immediately to a social worker. And this is no knocks against anybody, but the social worker was way over their head, couldn't handle where I was. I went back, he sent me to a therapist in Toronto, Ontario. And the therapist in Toronto had a tripod set up beside him to record what he was going to do. He tried to get me to into rage. The guy that murdered my family, he said, "You're no better than him. You're weak. You're just the same as him." He put me into that edge right where I was going to go into the rage. I got out of my chair. The next week I went to another therapist. He said, "What do you think of this one?" And I told him what I thought of him. And he goes, "Well, yeah, he does it that way and I do it this way." My point is I had to advocate for myself. You got to advocate. You got to keep pushing. I'm not saying there's a bad social worker or a bad therapist. There's all kinds of bad therapists, but there's good ones too. Don't get stuck on one. Advocate for yourself. You have to advocate. And the guy how I actually found my help, my daughter was in the addiction hospital, and most of the psychiatrists and therapists in the addiction center were former addicts. They could have been like drug addicts, alcohol, gambling, whatever they were. They knew what it felt like. They knew what it was like. They could relate to you. So I remember walking out the last day of family week, and I thought, if my daughter can do this, and she has the strength to go to a rehab and get off the drugs and get off the alcohol, I couldn't tell you how proud I am of her. I wear her like a badge. Mm-hmm. I don't hide it. I'm not disgraced or disgusted by it. I'm so proud of her. The people there are fantastic. They're people like you and I. I walked back in. I went to the person that ran the building, and I said, "This is what my problem is." She gave me the name of a guy, and I went to him. I went out, I got back in my vehicle, and I phoned him. He had a 3-day course that weekend, and I went to him. It was the best thing I ever did in my life. That guy saved my life. But that guy also tried to commit suicide. Wow. He understood it. He got it. And the more people that come out and start to relieve that, we don't have it all. We're not heroes. You can't know everything. You can't understand everything, but it's okay to ask. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people look at me and like I'm a confident guy. I'll walk in a room with 100 people. I'll joke around. I'll entertain. By looking at them on the outside doesn't mean you know what's going on the inside. And we all need that person to turn to. And I've had in 2 weeks, I've had 8 people walk up to me and say they're either suicidal now or they were suicidal. And I'm so proud of where they're at. I'm so proud that they spoke up, and I'm proud of myself for exposing myself.
Beautiful. So if people want to connect with you, how could they do that?
My email is contact. Hang on a minute. It's been a while since I did this here. So sorry, my apologies. Contact@glenedwards.ca. and www.glennedwards.ca. So yeah, I've helped a lot of people so far, and I'm enjoying it. Like it's right now I'm doing a thing right now. I'm doing like a consult for $49 for people that want to reach out about COVID, about infectious control, or just reach out and talk for a little bit and, see what's there for you, what's available to you, what I can do for you. It's just a little insight to what you can do and find out where you're at, what's going on, what I can put together for you. Like I'd rather be out speaking, doing workshops. I'm not one for sitting here behind a computer like this. I'd rather be at a shop, at a store, in a building or in a warehouse or in a conference hall teaching people. So I'd rather have that workshop experience, but can't do it right now. So
exactly.
Yeah, like same as you. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast today and for all your, oh my goodness, information on how to stay hygienic.
Yeah.
We need that right now, and
Yeah.
your insights on life and tools, and just thank you so much.
Yeah, well, thank you. Like I say, I had a gentleman do a podcast with me the other day, and he said, "What's your one thing you would give to somebody, advice or a takeaway?" And I said, "Find your core values and live by them. Like nobody's entitled to them." It's the biggest piece of advice I can get. It's massive.
Beautiful. We will end with that.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Kimberly. Thank you so much for having me.
Yep, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Okay, take care.